they may get it right here, right now.
Undead popping up where they didn't expect him.
Immediately Prophet getting value. 2 kills for him.
Wow.
Nice kill on the striker. Oh, Dia starting to go crazy here.
And that's what I'm talking about. London Spitfire, they eviscerate the defense.
Shanghai Dragons will go ahead and win that attack round.
One too many peaks and punished.
Welcome to the party.
Los Angeles, make some noise! We are live from the Blizzard Arena. It's the final day of Week 4, and already we have seen 45 amazing matches in the regular season of the Overwatch League. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Chris Puckett, and we got an awesome desk for you today. It starts with our insider. We got Zoe at the end, our Brit sideshow in the middle, breaking down all of the games, and the big Swede, our tank expert, Reinforce, is in the house. Reinforce, are you pumped for today?
I am very pumped for today. Yes, we're going to see an exciting game between Boston Uprising and the Los Angeles Valiant, so I'm really excited for today.
Sideshow, we had a great match last night.
Yeah, Seoul against Houston was fantastic. Seoul coming off that heartbreaking loss to London Spitfire, and then they go up against Houston. Houston don't have their star player, still able to make it super close, goes to a 5th game. What more can you ask for? That was insane.
Seoul Houston was incredible. After today's show, go back and watch the VODs, but we have to update you right now with where we're at with our league standings. After the big win from Seoul, you can see they have officially locked up the number 3 spot once again. Today we get to see our number 1 and number 2 seeds with the New York Excel and the London Spitfire, but really I think all eyes are going to be on Valiant and Boston a little bit later on today. And speaking of those squads, let's take a look at our schedule. Sully, which one are you fired up for?
Oh, it's going to be the same as Reinforced. Boston Uprising taking on the Los Angeles Valiant. Let's see if Boston can take down the second LA team after their dominant 4-0 victory last night.
Dallas is going to be looking for a big upset over New York at 1 p.m. I know a lot of teams in the standings will be cheering for that upset victory. We'll see if it comes. For now, though, it's time to introduce our first match of the day. Are you guys ready? Make some noise for the Shanghai Dragons. Yeah, buddy. Freefield leading the charge for the Dragons today, and this squad, they're at 0-7, but they are still fan favorites. They're coming off a tough loss, though, to New York.
Yeah, it was a tough game where they put up a fight, though, and they played up to their opponent. Unfortunately, they were not able to win a map against NYXL, and it doesn't get any easier against London today. So once again, we're looking for Undead as well as Dia to do some work. Undead now consistently showcasing impressive McCree play, and Dia, he has been starting to, you know, feeling comfortable diversifying his hero pool a little bit.
Yes, versus New York, we saw him actually play Mei. Now, we don't see a lot of Mei in the Overwatch League, but he did pull it out on point B, Temple of Anubis, and also he stuck to the Pharah quite a lot on Icon Valdez. So they're starting to feel a bit more comfortable on stage and diversifying their picks.
Yes, but it seems like they're kind of just getting to grips with the meta a couple of weeks before it's all going to change for Stage 2. They are the most improved team in the Overwatch League, but unfortunately, realistically, they started so far behind the pack, they've only just now got to the point where they're giving other teams good games. So I'd like to see this team improve over the course of it, find out what their flaws are over the next couple of games, and patch those for the mid-season. Come into Stage 2 looking great.
Shanghai coming in with our number 12 seed. It's now time to introduce the number 2 seed. They'll give it up for the 6-1 London Spitfire. London has to be all smiles today as Hurek leads the charge. This squad is coming over their massive 4-0 victory over Seoul Dynasty.
Yes, and today we're seeing 6 members from the old GC Busan roster who they picked up before the Overwatch League. Now, versus Seoul, we saw 11 members from the London Spitfire squad, so we don't really know what we're going to see today, but already looking at these 6 players, we're off to an amazing start from this London Spitfire squad.
Yeah, and of course I talked to their coach, Bishop, about their opponents, the Shanghai Dragons. He told me that the greatest strength is their momentum swings, which is something we've been able to witness here on this very stage. And the biggest weakness, their lack of coordination. So going into this match, London Spitfire are feeling very prepared to utilize this knowledge and especially motivated, coming off of such a great win against the Seoul Dynasty.
Sorry to cut you off there, so crowd, it is okay to cheer for these boys. Get fired up. You just saw Prophet on that main stage. You just saw Gesture, Sideshow, you have been smiles all morning. Why are you so pumped to watch London today?
I love this GC Busan team. They were undoubtedly the best team in the world just in November before the Overwatch League began. Yes, they flopped in the preseason. They even lost Junkertown and Numbani, Lijiang, all of these maps. But when it comes down to it, it looks like Bishop and the other coaching staff for London Spitfire have decided this is their best way of building out that core and creating a phenomenal roster.
Yep.
They played them against Seoul, easy 4-0 really. Considering how close we expected that to be, I think this is a great team.
While you're in full fanboy mode, I have to ask you, who's your favorite player on this squad?
I think I love actually Wu Xiao playing. The teamwork is so good with GC Busan. They're not just powered by star players. They actually sub in more stars when they go over to Control because they want a bit more firepower. But the way that Closer and Hagopyeon and Wu Xiao all play around each other is so phenomenal.
It's going to be a great show for us today. Now, Zoe, this is kind of a lopsided battle if you're looking at the standings. Shanghai, they've had some tough challengers already, but this is arguably their toughest challenger yet. What are they hoping to get out of today's matchup?
You know, the thing is, if we're looking at that squad, if you're looking at the Shanghai Dragons, from the very beginning of this league to right now, they've only showed us improvement. It's been an uphill curve, not a very steep one, but it is going upwards and it continues to do so. And I have a lot of faith in this team going into stage 2. And I just love the fact that they grow with the challenge. They play up to their opponents. So going up against London, I expect them to put up a really good fight.
Yeah, they have. It has been interesting to see the development of this team because they started out and they just had kind of one-star player, Dia, and then as they moved him to a more supportive role in the DPS, that allowed Undead to shine a little bit more. And so we've seen that he is now actually the X factor when they play. If he's on the McCree, if he's on the Widowmaker, he's coming out with these big performances. And Dia's kind of taken a step back and they're building their team more around Undead. So if we see unreal performances from their DPS players, it could be a close game, I agree. But they have to be unreal. These guys have to step up.
Good luck, Dia. Good luck on Dead. Because, Johnny, we got to talk about London. In their last match against Seoul, we expected a game 5. It was 4-0, all in favor of the London Spitfire.
Yeah, and that was insane in and of itself. We saw so many different variations of this London Spitfire squad. We saw Rascal with Birdring, we saw Prophet with Birdring, and then they swapped in Fury, Nust, and of course Bedosin onto the Control game mode. So we don't really know what to expect from this London Spitfire squad. We just know that obviously the coach, Bishop, he has a plan going into these games.
Yeah, and it kind of, we theorized back at the beginning of the season that with such a deep roster, they could throw completely two utterly separate lineups at you, and you would have no idea how to prepare. So far throughout the season, we haven't really seen that. They were focused more on just finding one good one, like blended between them with Nuss and Fury and these guys. But now, particularly in that game against Seoul, they've shown they can throw tons of different rosters.
They're
out.
essentially playing 4D chess at this point, just
4D
stopping out the
chess.
entire roster all the time.
Yeah, they are.
It's going to be a fun match. We mentioned that it's just moments away. I was just told our players are almost ready. Before we get to the game, though, I have to ask you guys about the future. In Stage 1, every team plays 10 matches. The top 3 move on to play for a $125,000 performance bonus prize pool. So let's talk about the odds that we see London Spitfire in the playoffs. I know the road doesn't get much easier after today's match.
It really doesn't, because the next 2 matches are going to be the Houston Outlaws as well as NYXL, and those are 2 really tough opponents, so they're not having an easy road ahead. However, if they continue to play in such a dominant fashion, I can see them actually making it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Houston Outlaws looked so good yesterday versus Seoul. They brought it to a very final round on Lijiang Tower. And then they're finishing off Stage 1, of course, versus the New York Excelsior, which we, at this point, has pretty much crowned the best team in the league.
You have crowned.
Yes, I have crowned. And Bren. So, 2 versus 1, I'm sorry.
All right, we'll see what London is bringing to the table today. Every map matters when it comes down to the tiebreaker. It's time to kick this one off. LA, make some noise for the Dragons and the Spitfire as we send it backstage. It's Mr. X and Uber with the call.
What's up, Blizzard Arena? How about this one for your Saturday morning? The Shanghai Dragons' last 3 games have been the Seoul Dynasty, the Philadelphia Fusion, the New York Excelsior, and now their gauntlet of death continues as they go up against the London Spitfire.
It's a
brutal schedule.
Brutal schedule for the Shanghai Dragons. They've only looked better, though, in all of these matches. I think this is going to be their toughest one, though, today against London.
There's something to be said, Matt, for being forged in the fires of adversity, and that's exactly what Shanghai have had to endure and experience. We saw good things from them up against Seoul. It was a 4-0 against New York, but I think they played better than they did against Seoul. So now, maybe we go up a step further, but again, this is the London Spitfire looking reinvigorated, looking a different look on roster. It was brought up there as well. We've got the Royal Roaders, the Jisoo Busan roster to come in here. Against Seoul, we saw a few different looks. We even saw the GC Busan team with Birdring in the mix.
That seemed to be like their go-to, was you leave Birdring in for Hureg and you kind of sub in the other DPS player at times, but no, you keep those tanks, you keep those supports from that GC Busan roster, and it's got to be very difficult when you have a player like Birdring not to play him all the time. The guy is just insane on so many different heroes.
And I'm told recently, well, at least Bishop came out and said, we have only recently actually had the capacity to have all 12 players in the facility playing at one time. So the whole point of the London Spitfire roster picking up 2 teams was to have them play each other internally. It's like a sister team set up. You have a bench of 6 players. You can mix and match them. And now they have a really good way to assess their, preparedness or suitability for a certain game by just playing them against each other. That's the whole plan for the London Spitfire coming into this season.
Well, it's great, right? Because you can practice a lot of strategies that you don't want to show other teams. You can try different looks against your own team. It's probably one of the better competitions you would have, right? For the London
You
B
can go
team.
for all the secret cheesy tech. You're not going to give away any of it to your opponents.
Well, and also you're not giving your opponents as good as quality scrims, right? I mean, London being one of the best teams in the league, if they don't scrim other people, they have to go find another opponent. So it's a very nice strategy, in terms of building the team that London employed at the beginning. The Shanghai Dragons will be on offense here first, Mitch. The Roshan will play Winston. You'll have Shusha play Diva. They're going to have Dia play the Pharah here. So it's interesting. When we saw this lineup roll out for Shanghai, we thought that Shusha would play the Pharah for this team.
Yeah, I mean, he had in the past, he played it either on Dorado, if I'm not mistaken, against the Seoul Dynasty, where they actually took that map. It was the last map of this series. But not to the case this time. Hureg is going to be, of course, on that Pharah. Interesting player, plays a fair bit of hit scan as well. A lot of McCree in the mix for Hureg. And we know he likes a bit of the bird now as well. He is looking for Hureg pretty much primarily. As soon as he sees closer, close enough to his crosshair, we'll find it. But Shusha gets desuited early on. So the Shanghai Dragons lose a lot of their engage potential. They also lose the ability to peel effectively for their backline. And Undead needs that defense matrix committed to him quite frequently.
And I think you see Prophet in the roster for the London Spitfire here in game number 1, because you want to see, potentially Genji on offense as we go into the second stage of the map.
What can't they play? What can't they play with this lineup?
Right, yeah, they can play everything with this lineup. Now, with Prophet being so good, I saw an article this morning, #1 ranked Genji and Tracer in the league thus far.
Oh, speaking of which,
gives them a lot of options.
Roshan's going to go down early, so again, Shanghai lose an engage piece. They're tanks that are bearing the brunt of the early trades of damage here. And that's all well and good to have your tanks take damage, but if you're not using that, the space created by your tanks to get damage of your own, then you're going to be locked into this kind of scenario. Now, London can get a bit more aggressive. Only been 2 kills so far in this match map, but they've been impactful.
Yeah, and you're not even really charging your Valkyrie. Oh, it's Prophet getting 2 with a pulse bomb. It's like, Closer was able to get his Valkyrie before 5 King. So, all that damage that's coming in on the tanks, you're not even really kind of using it as an advantage, right? Like, maybe you just sit in the choke with the tanks, let them take a little bit of damage, and then heal it up to get Valkyrie. We'll take a look at from Prophet's POV. Evidently, they just don't want to put any attention to him, as he's just going to throw a pulse bomb in there right onto the back of Undead.
You can see that the Shanghai Dragons had plenty of issues to be sort of concerned about. And the least of them they thought would be Prophet, and then he proved them wrong. He's already halfway to his next pulse bomb in terms of damage, so you can see now chunking in that defense matrix, protecting free field from the damage of Prophet trying to go in. And Hureg goes down, so perhaps the Spitfire extended a little bit too far. The Primal Rage now is going to compound this issue somewhat. We are going down, they've lost their Diva. Prophet needs another big pulse bomb here. Prepare for trouble, maybe make it double, that's the real question. Pulse bomb now online, but he's taken down, Undead, picks him off, and that's a good start here. Now the double res coming out, but it's not going to bring all of London back up on their feet. But Dia's dropped in the mix. 5 King now jumping in, keeping Shusha nice and healed up, and there's also a Transcendence in play. Both support ultimates have been used, but Prophet's doing work. Undead's down, Roshan getting splattered there by the Primal Rage, and Shanghai invested so much into that fight. They thought they had the edge, man, but it looks like that wasn't the case at all.
And London is so quick to just spot players on their own, just change targets and pick them off. Because right there, it looked like the fight was about even, right? And then Undead actually goes all the way on like a little bit of a flank, trying to get around by the point. As soon as that happens, they realize he's there. Gesture jumps out with Primal Rage, lands right on top of him. Prophet darts right towards him. They take out Undead. And at that point, there's no DPS alive for the Shanghai Dragons. The fight's over.
Hureg in position for a barrage here, hoping to lay it right into the back line, and Shanghai lacked very little defensive or support ultimates to stop this, but the timing maybe wasn't great. He still catches Roshan on the way up though, and with 5 King being picked off by Prophet, likely close to a 1 clip there, it's an easy kill for him, and it's all blue in the kill feed. Shusho just having to back away, can't even get into spawn to heal up at this stage. The pressure is so real.
Yeah, 30 seconds left here for the Shanghai Dragons to make a play on point A. Profit with this pulse bomb could be huge here, Mitch. Pulse bomb on either supports, they have nothing to keep them alive. Would be game over here.
Profit now knows the backline is over to his left. He sees Undead peek, he's looking for it. Vikings also presented as a pulse bomb, doesn't quite land though. It's dropped in the middle of a bit of a field goal, but Profit's still there to get the damage done. He's not going to give up yet, hasn't recalled out of the fight, and he's helping the damage on towards Roshan, who's fallen. So now the Shanghai Dragons are missing. Now Winston, they can't even get to the point. They're zoned off partially by the self-destruct, but they are in no position to contest.
Well, what I love too from the London Spitfire is, you know, the tanks from Shanghai, they would move in through the choke, right? Because London was pretty much giving up the choke outside of some Pharah damage that was coming down.
Occasionally, Gesture would sort of dip his toe in the water and Profit might move up.
Well, what I liked is that when they would move through the choke, the DPS for the Shanghai Dragons would just kind of stay by the choke because they expect, you know, Gesture and Profit to jump on the tanks as soon as they come through. The issue is Gesture and Profit went straight for the backline. So then the tanks are kind of caught in the middle, right? Because if they turn to go back towards their team, you have Gesture and Profit there blocking them off. Then they're taking damage from the other side from, you know, Hagopun, and you have Hurek there landing shots with the Pharah. It puts the tanks in a no-win situation.
Profit has half of the kills on the London Spitfire right now. 8 final blows. In total, it was 16 final blows that have been achieved, so that's a schlacking, Matt.
It was not pretty. It was not pretty there for Shanghai, but now they'll have their chance to hold on defense. We see them come out here at the start. Looks like you'll see Roshan play Orisa, and you'll see...
Shaders on the return.
Ah, you can read it.
Yeah. Okay, I have my graphics turned down low in game because I just kind of like the smoothness, so I never really got to read that.
I didn't acknowledge it because I didn't know what it meant, so that's what I do most of the time. I just acknowledge, I don't acknowledge things I meant. But you'll have a Shusha play Roadhog, so you have the halt and hook combination. Then you have Dia will play Pharah again. He has to be very careful because Profit most likely will stay on the Widowmaker just to get a shot out of the spawn, right?
Yeah,
so if he goes over the top of the building, no, it'd be bad to get on Dia, you know, to drop. It'd be even worse for Fire King to fall. Yeah.
It's a direct counter because Dia's going to try and get an early pick off with 2 rockets just shot at the spawn doorway. So generally speaking, if you run out and you're not aware of this, you're going to eat 2 rockets and probably be killed off. We see it happen quite a lot. So Profit's hoping for this. Hasn't spotted Dia though. I think he didn't look over towards that left-hand side. Dia also playing fairly safe.
We'll see what Profit does. He swap off. Yeah, he goes back to the spawn. He'll go over to Tracer. So
okay.
They're going to wait for him to come back, then you'll start to see the push comes in from London.
So defensive Pharah gives you the bonus and splash damage of a Junkrat with a bit more safety about being up in the air and also giving your Mercy a spot to go to. Looks like the fight's already started though. Undead met Gesture there. Fan the Hammer would have chucked him down pretty low, but Hurek responds. And now we are, look at him. He's in there like swimwear, Matt, straight into the back line, looking for a chance to live upon Five King or at least pressure further. He's not doing much defensive play on this D.Va right now. You notice he's not defense matrixing his back line. He was looking to try and find a support, but London pull up a little bit short in the first engagement here.
Profit's still here though, just causing trouble on the point. You're going to get both tanks in the action here for the London Spitfire. See Gesture. Oh, okay, well, I expected Roshan to move forward there, and he did not. That'll be London taking map number 1.
No, somebody get the Dragons some Java. We need them up here in the morning. I know it's early. But they were forced off the point again.
But they weren't really forced off the point.
Well, they allowed themselves
London
to
was
be
just kind of
forced off the
standing
point,
there.
bro.
All right.
Okay, so you know, it was mentioned by Bishop that the Shanghai Dragons maybe lack a little bit in terms of coordination. They're being pressured now, so they're being tested in that regard. And clearly, the mental bandwidth maybe isn't quite there yet. Wake up, Shanghai! We've got 3 more maps to go.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
arguably the #1 ranked team. It's the London Spitfire. The top 2 Korean teams basically put together on one super team.
제 경쟁도 어느 정도 있다고 생각하고 서로 각자 알아서 잘할 거기 때문에 서로 이제 도움을 주고 많이 이끌어준다기보다는 각자 잘해서 정상에서 만나고 막 이런 식으로.
You know, this team has so many good players. It's just a matter of how do they make it work.
아무래도 다 똑같은 생각을 하고 있을 것 같은데 우승이 아마 팀 목표가 되지 않을까 생각돼요.
That was a masterclass from the Spitfire.
이번 시즌 팀 목표는 당연히 뭐 시즌 우승, 초대 우승이 되는 거고요.
London Spitfire, nearly unstoppable.
Well, Matt, Ruksug actually means retreat and not return, and I think perhaps the Dragons are taking me a little bit too seriously on that one, stepping right up the point, or more correctly, not stepping on it in the first place. Got some subs here, of course, as we're trying to frame the shots properly. Birdring comes back in here, Fury also into the roster for the Spitfire.
Yeah, so you bring Birdring in to play the DPS role, Fury will be the off-tank here, and it just shows just the wealth of talent on this London roster. A player we haven't even seen, right? You know, Gesture is so good at main tank. We haven't seen Fisher, who's a tremendous Winston and Reinhardt in his own right. I mean, there's just so many talented players on this team. Now, once they were able to get these like inter-squad scrimmages going on, I feel like they were going to really unlock their full potential. And I think it's scary for the rest of the league how they're playing right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're bringing across this sort of sister team mentality that was really nurtured or developed over in that Korean region, of course, which is where a lot of the London players are from, and you could see how it helped to cultivate such an important scene. A lot of teams are still, you know, even teams that have top players are just starting to get them here, you know.
Yeah.
I think Echo and Snillo just arrived in Los Angeles for the Fusion, so even there, they're still sort of amassing their roster now.
And then you got to think, you know, a lot of these teams who are signing players in the signing window, like you're going to have to get those players here, you're going to have to get them all set up, you know, work them into your team. It's going to be time before you're going to see some of these mid-season signings, you know, lead to results in terms of wins and losses. So I think, you know, having London, you know, having the 12 players at the beginning of the year, having them here, having them playing all the time, definitely going to be an advantage as time goes on. Map number 2 in the series will be Horizon Lunar Colony. We'll get to see, I know we saw Rascal play a little bit on this for London when they wanted to bring the May out. Not in the lineup here too.
McCree as well, he played a bit of. Rascal's McCree was completely exploited against the Los Angeles Valiant on this particular map. So, you know, they're going to go for a little bit of a different look this time around.
Well, Prophet's in, so you can have him obviously play, you know, Genji or Tracer. Birdring can play Widowmaker. You can also have him play Junkrat if you wanted to run like a Risa Roadhog Junkrat. So just gives you a little bit of more versatility.
Yeah, our initial projections were that Birdring would be probably the most frequent inclusion in this roster based on his flexibility and general impact on the game.
Well, he just plays like the high impact heroes at like a very high level in terms of just like overall players in the league. So it's like kind of odd to take him out and put in other players where you know you have somebody who's really consistent as well, right? I mean, it's really kind of rare to see Birdring have like an off game or an off map. So don't really see him come out of the lineup too often. On the side of the Shanghai Dragons, there will be no changes in their lineup here.
We're on the attacking side here, and we've seen the Shanghai Dragons, you know, play around a little bit with the Sombra pick on this map. We've seen them try and work that one in, and you know, a lot of teams are starting to figure that out now as well. Like defending teams are sitting off of the point, and they're actually defending their health packs instead of the point itself, just to try and shut down the impact of that Sombra. But London Spitfire here, I mean, we can see what they're going to go for here. This is pretty anti-dive in terms of its composition, right? You don't want to dive a Junkrat or a Roadhog. You got to get past, you know, Gesture Shield in some sort of way. So it's pretty tricky to try and get around this team. And then Birdring's out there just hitting shots, or at least that's the plan.
You have a few options if you're the Shanghai Dragons. You can dive straight to the point. You can play like a quad tank. They're going to actually play Moira, Lucio, Sombra. So interesting. Sombra usually played like in competitive play at this level as more of like a secondary support as the DPS. But this time we're going to see Undead play Sombra as strictly secondary DPS role.
Dead with most deaths on this map, and Shusho with the leaks, which is really interesting given that he's often in that tank role. Now the point's being tickled, so the Spitfire need to keep track of this and not give away a free third of the point whilst they're trying to deal with the assault at the gates, as it were. But Prophet's gone down to Undead on the point. It's going to give him a tick now. The Spitfire have to go back and respond. There's no time to waste, and they get there, but look how much progress has been given over. That's all off the back of Undead winning the 1v1 against Prophet. The Spitfire can push back a little bit now, Matt. You can see it's not quite 66%. That's still annoying.
Oh, a nice halt and a hook there as Fury finishes off 5 King. And something obviously you expect here for Shanghai is that, well, these players are really out of position. They should get figured out.
Still gets profit for the second
profit
time.
again, but it's going to get res right back up. I mean, all these players are dropping on your side of the map.
Close is dead. Might be something to this one. Depends what the Shanghai Dragons are doing while this is happening. Hug up and down towards Dia here. This could be something. Fury now taking a breather. A lot of the Shanghai Dragons are bearing down upon him. He needs to get back to the protective shield here on the point. Holt thrown in. It actually prevents the jump coming in. Roshan was trying to get over the shield, but instead got brought crashing down to the ground. And now the Reptile's going to claim Dia. Gesture now can just refresh the shield, and the Cold Essence isn't really given too much attention here. Gesture has to respect this, but Fury just dips in, gets himself a hook. The Shanghai Dragons match, just gonna reset, just chill.
Yeah, and they were able to catch London off guard because, obviously they expect Tracer to be on the point in London, right? Dia dancing around the point, but Undead playing Sombra obviously can go self, go invisible. They don't expect both players to be there at that time. That's how you're able to get that first pick rather quickly.
We have seen this happen actually. Sometimes the Tracer goes to the point and gets in like a long range 1v1 with the Junkrat, and then the Sombra comes in under the stealth, right? So you can't see her, then she appears and bursts down with the help of the Tracer of that Junkrat. So you get a 2v1. It's pretty scary and you've got to be ready for it. There's an EMP up here and a pulse bomb for the Shanghai Dragon.
Here's the thing, I mean, you connect the EMP for Shanghai and you get a good sound barrier. You still have Closer with Valkyrie on the other side, so Closer does use Valkyrie. There's the EMP. Don't know if he got caught inside of it or not. Then he would not be able to use the Resis. He actually brings back Hagapoon, brings back Fury. So this is a fight where London has the clear advantage. And this is where you miss having a Mercy here, Mitch, right? You want Mercy on your side. Obviously, Valkyrie's such a powerful ultimate ability in the current patch, right? A little bit different on live. Finishing out stage 1 on the previous patch. You need Mercy on your team. Right there, you see the effect she has, bringing 2 players back to life after you wasted so many ultimates to make that happen on the side of the Dragons.
Okay, so the Shanghai Dragons making the executive decision to switch the Lucio out of their composition. They now lack their speed, but they obviously have the potential to resurrect, although if you're attacking on this map, it sometimes can be hard to find a safe zone in order to channel that ability. He is just tickling Fury a little bit here. Has a pulse bomb, but knows that he needs to try and draw out the cooldown or take a breather before he can even bother sticking up one down. Self-destruct on the high ground, and Fury's just going to take 5 back away from that one. In the meantime, Roshan missed his jump. He's on the low ground. He got picked off by Birdring. This puts Fury in a bit of a compromising position now. He's a little bit closer to that Demon than he otherwise would have liked to have been, but that's a double for Profit. He found both supports. Didn't even need a Riptide for that one, by the way. Just chilling. And now Shanghai, I'm not really sure what they're doing. I think they need to be reminded that they still got to capture that first point. Well, but this will stagger them.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if there was a player back there for London, like you'd go finish them off, but Fury can just keep looking back towards this spawn, just waiting for Dia to come on in. So Dia will fall now at distance at the hands of Birdring. This is not going well for the Shanghai Dragons.
They're not going to even touch the point. Roshan gets taken down. They are at least contesting. Oh no! It's a nightmare! Spike kick and free fill. Weren't even in position to help their team, by the way. And we're just adding insult to injury now with Profit giving a big old riptide. That's how you burn rubber, ladies and gentlemen.
And they go to Widowmaker after playing Sombra for a bit, which is interesting, right? You're going to try and out-widow Birdring, who's standing behind the Orisa shield. It's nearly impossible to do. Profit able to make a big impact on Junkrat, 32% of overall team damage. I mean, take a look at replay of this Riptire, but look at this position that Undead is sniping into.
Concussive mine.
That won't happen in stage 2. But you saw the position that Undead was in there, right? You kind of saw his silhouette through the screen. He can't really get much damage there on Widowmaker because you're just standing behind the Orisa shield. So that's where you would have liked to see Shanghai potentially like either go quad tank, right, and just play on the point, and maybe even stay with like Sombra, like something like Sombra Moira, or and then just have like Lucio play a tank and just go quad tank. There's a lot of other things they could have done there. The Widowmaker probably not the best of options.
We'll see what the Dragons want to go for here. It's unlikely the Spitfire are going to try and fight them directly. The idea about attacking on this map as the offensive team is to provoke a response from the defenders. Force them to move out of position, force them to come to you. The defenders can't sit on the point and wait for you because they're literally putting themselves into a box. So they have to sit up on a high ground and try and exploit the fact that you have a lot of this open no man's land to cross. And they need to force them off that advantageous position to deal with you on the point.
And we saw from the previous round when Fury was on Roadhog a few times, just a little bit of a cool note. It's like, he's playing so aggressive in the mid, even with the Widowmaker on the other side, and he just kept turning his back, so you just can't land those like easy headshots against him. So Shanghai here on defense, you're going to have 5 King play Mercy, you're going to have Freefield play Ana. So Ana obviously can provide a lot of great healing. If London tries to dive up to the top right, you hit them with a Biotic Grenade. Who is the nano boost target here, though, for the Shanghai Dragon? Shusha playing the Diva? I mean, maybe you can give your nano to Junkrat as D actually just deletes Prophet here at the beginning.
So that's likely a trap set up there as well. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the Spitfire don't want to dive the Dragon. So Ana has a fair bit of safety there in that case. Like, she's probably not going to get leapt upon until she commits to the low ground. And we'll see Heavy Gesture here on this Winston. We'll look to try and test it.
I think what you're looking at here is to see if London can create sightlines for Bird Ring. It's a lot like how Undead had that. Undead was just plowing damage into the Orisa shield. They were on offense. It's like, how do you create space for Bird Ring to make an impact on the Widowmaker? As you see the push coming in here for London.
Shusha essentially was on his own for the first part of that fight. Now he's been joined, flanked by the rest of the Dragons. Prophet decides just to step off the point for the time being, and closer gets a little bit, well, too close to Shusha there. Picks him off with that Diva. The Widow battle is won by Undead, and Prophet fancies hanging around. He knows a couple of clips of damage into tanks would give him that pulse bomb that could break the Dragons apart. The Dragons, not only do they have to play close because of the presence of Orisa, they have to play close on their point. This is Value Town for pulse bombs.
They also have Undead out of the equation because Bird Ring wins that fight. He knows that there's so many members for the London Spitfire just hanging around that left-hand side. He's going to be pretty much trapped in the spawn.
Yeah, you can see now the support will split up for the rest of the Dragons, and that's going to be the EMP coming out. Hagapun finds 5 King immediately. That's the pulse bomb we were looking for. Roshan is down, all 4 feet, flat on the floor for him. Shusha has nothing else he can really do but try and get that resuit self-destructor zone away, but he can't get back in. Jester knew that'd be trying to get back in the mech. Undead was so low, and Prophet all he had to do was give him a little bit of a tickle here. The Shanghai Dragons got no players near the point whatsoever. They let themselves down with a weak attack, and the Spitfire are more than happy to capitalize. Blinking, you'll miss it, Matt.
You know, we've seen some close games from Shanghai in their previous matches. I think the London Spitfire just coming in here today, making a big statement. You know, our game against Seoul, obviously, we looked great with a 4-0. We're not going to take any opponent lightly, right? Just going to come in here, dominate everybody, go on home.
2-0, the map score thus far. We saw some Junkrat shenanigans here. Of course, the cantankerous Aussie making his mark on this map. Still at least 2 more maps to go. The Shanghai Dragons have much to work on, though.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. And by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network.
Coming at you live from the Blizzard Arena. Welcome back, everybody. It's your halftime show. I'm your host, Chris Puckett, once again, and I'm joined by our analyst. We've got today, it's Reinforced alongside Sideshow, and things are going kind of as we expected throughout the first two games. In match number one, Shanghai Dragons find themselves down 0-2 at the half. London, though, the heavy favorites coming in today. And before we get into any replays, I want to ask you guys about this London Spitfire squad. Sideshow, you were really excited for the lineup for game one.
I was, yeah, and I think part of this is because GC Busan as a team really interested me when I was watching them way back, because they play with such good fundamental Overwatch. Their teamwork is great. They set up plans before every fight. Yes, they don't have the star power of a lot of these other rosters, although Prophet is genuinely one of the best players in the world. He was like their sole focus in terms of their firepower, but they're so well spread and they make their plans so well for the teams that they have a great route forward in every fight.
Yes, and during that time in Korea, there was a lot of talk about the other top Korean teams. We had Kongdu, Lunatic High, the LW teams, etc. And so this GC Busan squad was kind of hyped up as the new Korean talent, you know, the Korean players 2.0 sort of. So it's nice to see them maybe perhaps fulfill some of that potential here on the Overwatch League.
Before we get into the first highlight clip, I want to ask you your expectations for Shanghai coming into this match. What were you hoping to see happen on Eichenwald?
Well, coming into it, they had played quite a lot of the double hit scan, trying to take down Hureg on Hureg on Pharah. You know, they knew that they were going into a Pharah, or they should have known that. They did play a little bit of a Rissa Hog last time, and they looked decent at that. Perhaps they would have had more success playing that slower style, because they did look fairly synergized in terms of getting those hook and chain combos, where they're able to pull in the enemy Winston. But at the moment, they look like they're just being outclassed.
If you missed the first game, let's take a quick look back. This is Eichenwald, and it was London on the defense, shutting down Shanghai over and over again. We're starting things off here with Prophet, and we love watching this guy. Today, he opened things up on the Tracer.
Yeah, he was so annoying, especially for Undead. Undead, which we sort of hyped up as the difference maker for this Shanghai Dragon squad, and obviously going up against Hureg's Pharah, you really need your McCree in Undead to pop off. But Prophet was always there on the flank, being annoying, and with Roshan and Chushu being sort of aggressively minded, of course, Undead didn't have a lot of space to actually put any pressure whatsoever onto Hureg, and much credit to Prophet for that.
Prophet was involved in almost all of these kills. He has 58% elim participation at the moment, so he's just getting involved in everything. And Undead's so busy trying to deal with Prophet on the floor that he doesn't have the time to focus on Hureg.
One of my favorite parts of working with Sideshow is when he becomes Professor Sideshow, and that's what's happening right now. This is your Insights powered by Intel, and Sideshow's going to walk us through some of the supports that we're seeing today.
Yeah, so Bishop had an interview recently that was posted on the OverwatchLeague.com website where he was talking about Closer and Hagopian. And these are these guys down at the bottom here, the support duo for London Spitfire. And he said that they're so good because they set up every team fight. They know what's going to happen. And we're going to contrast this to the Shanghai Dragons. So I want you to watch out for Five King at the moment, who has his Valkyrie available. But as we all know, if you use Valkyrie early on in the fight, you don't get as much out of it because the enemy Mercy's then able to pop theirs. So as we move through this, you'll see that Five King is going to pop the ultimate. And as I'm just going to pause this again, you realize that because London Spitfire have their double support ults available, they know that they can play aggressive because the Resurrects are going to come in. So by Five King popping this early, they need all of these heals to be able to come through. Yes, they get two great picks. They get the pick onto Hureg. Dia finally delivers with that Pharah v Pharah. And then, as you see from Five King's perspective, they're going to be able to push Roshan down this right-hand side and get a D-Mech onto Wuhyal and finally finish the kill. But Hagopian and Closer are so far back, it's just completely planned. London Spitfire knew this was going to happen, identified the fact that Five King used the Valkyrie, and you can see this is from Closer's perspective, backs all the way off. They're under no pressure whatsoever, and Closer can just come back in at the end with a double Valkyrie and heal everybody back up. Yes. So that was the Insights by Intel. There's Professor Sideshow.
Thank you, buddy.
Breaking down what we could from that incredibly fast match, gotta say.
And I think it's pretty interesting because often we see a lot of Mercies. They have to use the Valkyrie very early because their tanks are dropping low. So that's another thing about Shanghai Dragons. You have Roshan, who is a very aggressive Winston player. And so Freefield often has to pop the Valkyrie way earlier than the enemy team, and that starts you at a disadvantage when it comes to the support ultimates. So you need to pre-plan your Valkyrie usage, I feel like, especially with Roshan, and be like, hey Roshan, we're going to pop Valkyrie this fight. please don't jump in and get low way before we're actually ready to engage.
A very quick game, number 1 on Eichenwald. That went to London Spitfire. Now we're loading up Horizon Lunar Colony. This is a map that we've seen some success from Shanghai in the past. Today, not the case when you're going up against Bird Ring Sniper Rifle.
Yes, and for Shanghai Dragons, their defense has been slightly better than their offense because they're able to put Undead in a good position. And here they tried something along with the Sombra Tracer strategy, getting behind, but London were all over it. They knew exactly what was coming, rotated down to the point, and please, Prophet, they're already dead. This is overtime. Like, have some mercy. So, yeah, London just outclassing them in terms of strategy and also individual play. Shanghai at the moment, they have a couple of areas that they need to work on if they want to get back into this match at all.
We've always talked about London and their ridiculous roster depth and just the strength of all of the individual talent on this team. I feel like today is a perfect example of some of these players popping off. Let's take a look here at Prophet on the DPS, especially from the second map. He started with this Tracer, but for me, it's been his Junkrat today.
Yes, well, all of the heroes really when we talk about Prophet, and we can almost get into the conversation as, is Prophet a top 3 DPS in the Overwatch League? Where does he stand with Birdring, of course? Where does he stand with Flera? All of these different players, Cybiolby, there's so many good ones. Where does Prophet fit in among all of these? And I do want to say he's top 3, and I just showcased it versus Shanghai Dragons. So it's a pretty interesting debate, I think, because just looking at him here, he is really impressive on that DPS role.
We still have 2 more games to go on the other side of the half, but as we end halftime, I want to give a shout out to a particular part of our tech crew. We have amazing people, not only here as the fans in the Blizzard Arena, but also backstage. And some of the guys that don't get enough credit work the longest hours. It's the people bringing you the in-game cameras. It's our observer team led by Jason Baker. And we got a chance to sit down with him and talk a little bit about the process that goes into every day's work. The Boston Uprising looking for a major upset as they take on the 3-0 Seoul Dynasty.
4, 3, 2, 1, and live. We're in the observer room backstage at Overwatch League Season 1. Going to 3, on 3, going to 2, going to 2. Just yell on 3, please. Going to 2, then I'm gonna go back to 4 here. All the gameplay footage, everything that you see from the match is done in this room.
Oh, nice pick on the Toby. Gamsu really punishing this.
I have 4 observers that do live switching, and I switch between the action to try to tell the best story possible. Give me Mei on 3. I need Mei on 3. That was good. He's gonna have Dragonblade again. Overwatch is one of the hardest games to do. A traditional sport, you got a puck to watch, a ball to follow. This, you have 12 people on the field at any time, and all 12 of them are doing something important.
Both supports done.
Easy peasy, man. Seoul Dynasty will win the map and go up 2-0 in this series.
Communication is important, but the less we have to talk, the better. The more that we can read. Going into game. We have 2 free cameras, 2 first-person cameras, and a overview map that we use. Focus up, guys, focus up. I have 2 free camera operators. They use Xbox controllers. It's almost your typical stadium camera of looking at all the action at once.
Seoul comes storming back on the back of a couple tank ultimates.
So we have a map tool that we're able to see where players are on the map. That's not in-game, so we try to get it on broadcast as much as possible.
Boston certainly not going down without a fight here.
Nate does all the really cool highlight footage that we do. All those really cool slow-mo 360 shots, and those are special tools that we only have here at Overwatch League. We want to entertain the viewer. We want to keep them educated. We just try to stay focused and give it everything we got. Going forward, 4-4, holding on 3. That's pretty good.
Another impressive showing from Seoul Dynasty.
Overwatch League represents a different direction than esports have taken in the past. A global community of professionals for a truly global league.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Games Done Quick, the Overwatch edition. Just when we saw the Shanghai Dragons start to fire up a little bit, they're up against their toughest opponent yet this season, and it's not been pretty at all.
No, the first two maps have been very quick here in favor of the London Spitfire. This third map, going into control, right? I know this is where you expect London to really thrive on a map like Ilios, where they can just brawl it out.
Again, some of the Shanghai Dragons' promising moments have come from maps where, again, they can just get in there and brawl. Coordination, again, to bring it up, is one of the things that Bishop identified may be a weak point. Is that my boy JDM up in that chair? No, Bidosin coming in for Hagapin here as well. So, again, we're continuing to move rosters through. It's like a car wash of players, you know what I mean? Yeah. One after another. Just get them all in there.
Then Nuts will come in for Closer. Yeah, Hureg will come back in for Bird Ring. So that'll be all the subs coming in for London. Hey, what's up, Hureg? How you doing, bub?
I love this guy.
It's interesting substitution that comes in from Shanghai for me, though. Altering comes in for 5King, when 5King is like their known Lucio player, right? Where if you wanted like a Lucio here on Ilios, potentially, you would want him to come in. Even in first, he hasn't been bad.
Kind of all Lucio players. I thought that Altering and 5King were both main support players. Maintain's got to help me.
That explains a lot.
Who play a fair bit of Lucio. So, you know, maybe, again, this might be like his designation, because we haven't seen as much of Altering recently. Definitely been more 5King sort of filling that role, but perhaps this is where he's been practicing. Again, if you have that extra player, you can just get him to focus on that one map type and really nailing things down. So there's nothing wrong with that. We'll have to see if it works out, though.
It seems like the Shanghai Dragons have figured out their support rotation, right, of who's going to play on what maps. It seems like the off-tank position is the one they have moved around the most. In the last series we cast with them, MG played pretty much the entire time, and I thought they looked quite good with MG in the game. This time, though, you're going to have Shuja play against the London Spitfire, and right now down 0-2, can you take a lot away from this performance? I don't think you can. It's just such a lopsided match in general, right?
How do you it's difficult also to assess the potency of a roster that gets changed up a lot. So the Spitfire is such an interesting team like that. Now they have all these different options, and you know what? They just sub people in because they can. They just can.
You see that London and Shanghai have utilized far and only 9% of their time played on Ilios. So it's also stage dependent, right? Because some of their games, London most likely 2-0ing teams, Shanghai getting 0-2'd, so maybe you don't exactly get the most favorable stage.
Well, you don't get 3 rounds.
Yeah, you don't get 3 rounds. So the beginning here, we'll see Hureg lands a shot into Roshan.
Mad respect here from Roshan. Not going to peek out anymore. Hureg again is just punishing him now. The smallest part of his hitbox peeking out. But here's the real question. Undead versus Hureg. Interesting little matchup. They trade shots, but Hureg's got more important things to deal with here. More pressing matters. A fight happening quite close to him there. He has a good feel for where his opponent's standing. But Dia is pretty much cutting through the entirety of the Spitfire while he's too busy trying to find his 1v1. Good opening here for the Shanghai Dragons. Again, it's a fundamental brand of Overwatch. We're seeing him at all-out brawl, team fight coordination. Time after time after time. Ultimate economy is very important here.
The first shots by Hureg can force the Shanghai Dragons back, and then when he comes down from the high ground, Shanghai's, it gives him an option to work around by this health pack here on the right, and they just dive into the back. As see Dia doing a nice job getting Prophet Weak, forcing him back a little bit. Now gonna go on for point, lands a nice pulse bomb.
Oh, chested down, a lot of damage, even spread out. Fury's down to half HP. Roshan has fallen but brought back up in the periphery by Hureg now, and Dia there's just gonna get to work on some of these squishier targets. Backed up very well by Roshan here. He's brought back to life, and he immediately sets about helping Dia pick people up. Fury kept around just a little bit longer. And this is a good start for the Dragons. The crowd's waking up as well, is what I like to hear. 42% for the Dragons. A good start here on Ilios.
Good pulse bomb from Dia, followed it up with the Valkyrie from Altering. Undead will use his infrasight here, so Shanghai will know exactly where the London team's moving about, as
there it is.
Undead will get the better of Hureg here, so Undead doing a nice job in this Widow v Widow battle.
Look at how far forward he's pressing as well, sticking on the low ground. Kind of hard to find where he's going to be at this stage, and peak his advantage here. Undead's already holding the line, and Dia's gotten in there and found Gesture. The Spitfire can't even access the point right now. It seems as if the Dragons are bringing a different brand of Overwatch than we've seen from them prior Medosa just gets slapped up there by Undead.
And London uses their Valkyrie here, and they get little to no value out of it. That's going to allow Altering to build up towards his. You have Transcendence on both sides. Now it's Prophet's turn. Now we saw Dia make a big play with a Pulse Bomb. Can Prophet open things up with a big Pulse Bomb for London?
Dia now is hunting. Urek just grapples out of the way. Dia can't access him right now. We can't get to the high ground. But he's found a potentially better target here. Mercy was the one he wanted. I don't know where that Pulse Bomb went. It didn't find its target though, that's for sure. Dia now taking fight. Gonna go get some HP, but Undead's been left upon by Gesture. Now it's the Spitfire to get aggressive into the back line of the Dragons. And Shusho's going to be surrounded for the most part. A self-destruct being used here. Interesting that he opts to go for that just to buy a little bit of extra time. But Matt, they're already at 99%. Stall is essentially unnecessary here. I want to reset, come back with 6, and take it for themselves.
There's no reason to just extend this fight even longer. Dia now gets onto the point here for Shanghai.
Why are we trying to 1v6 here?
Undead is playing close as well. He may fall as he lands a shot on the Prophet, so forces Prophet to back up. But yeah, there's no reason to just keep kind of pushing the point there for Shanghai. You got the 99%, just drop, reset, get everybody back up. Because now look, you have a great opportunity here for the Shanghai Dragons. You're going to have Undead with the info site. You're going to know exactly where London's going to set up, where everybody's going to be playing. Prophet not going to surprise you here playing in the corner. Altering will also have Valkyrie here for this fight.
Oh, that's a good start, though. Undead's found Hurek. It might have to be a resurrect, but that's might be busy with other things right now. Freak feels low. Prophet, though, getting backed up. You can see Gesture was right behind him there. Ready to follow him into the abyss. But now he's down. Freefield managed to find the Winston on his own, and Prophet now needs to make a big difference in this fight. He needs to make the play. Gesture's brought back. So is Freefield, though, and he's very low. The Din out has fallen now. The Spitfire would control the point, but Altering going for the double res. Freefield's back. Freefield's down again. He's here, and then he's gone the next moment. Now Prophet needs to make something happen with this Pulse Bomb, but Altering's cut down. It's an elongated fight, but it's the Spitfire that come out on top. The Dragons are committing a lot of ultimates here, and they're coming up with very, very little. Digging deep, Foster King for an opportunity or an advantage in this fight, and finding pretty much nothing. Fury has a chance to resuit. Not ideal for the Dragons.
And Roshan comes back into the fight as he was primal raged all the way back in the London Spitfire spawn. Freefield using his Transcendence. It'll be Valkyrie up here for the London Spitfire. So you're going to be able to bring back some players into the action.
Fury is
get
back.
right back in his mech. As the point flip. The point should go back to London here. They do have a large player advantage. Dia falls, Roshan falls, Freefield the only one up. So London will get control of the point here. Dia, it doesn't really matter. You just wanted to die anyway. It doesn't matter whether it's Sons of Fury or not. So you will eventually fall. We look at the ultimates now, as Shanghai invested a ton into that fight. Transcendence in Valkyrie. Bedosin getting closer towards his Transcendence. We'll see how fast he builds it up, but they have no answer for this Prophet Pulse Bomb, but it's a big one.
The only way you win this fight as the Dragons is you start off with a good pick, or again, make sure Prophet gets very little done here. Undead forced to retreat to the safety of his bubble, but it's not safe enough. Pulse Bomb dropped into the Korean future vacuum there, but Shusho's going to get desuited regardless. Now Prophet sees a mini Diva. He'd love to chase that one down. The rest of the Dragons aren't putting themselves onto the point. They realize they're going to trickle in one by one, but where are they? Where are the Dragons? Couple players on the point. Urek takes to the skies, knows that Undead is hiding, but Altering is so low right now, and he finishes the job. Spitfire now with the first round on the board after a very slow start.
It's a tough situation there for Shanghai. They get 99%. London comes all the way back. They will take our first stage on Ilios, but it's difficult there towards the end to stay on that Widowmaker from Shanghai. It's hard because you have two options, right? You either switch off the Widowmaker, then you don't have any pressure on the Widowmaker of Pureg. But knowing you have to get to the point and stay on it, you can't really do that as well with the Widowmaker. So if Undead doesn't come up with picks at the beginning, they're in a lot of trouble.
Does Shanghai have a good Genji here?
I know, I was actually thinking about that. We haven't really seen them play a ton of Genji. I mean, Undead and Dia are both like hit scan players, so you see them play a lot of McCree, Tracer, 76. We haven't really seen like a standout Genji player come out from the Shanghai Dragons.
So for a team that doesn't play much Farah on this particular map, the Spitfire now have Hureg on the bird. Going to be dealing with the Undead on McCree, and again, to pressure that McCree down with a Tracer Farah tour de force will make life a little bit hard for Undead to survive. But Freefield's taking down Bedosin early on here. So while the Spitfire, with the speed boost of their Lucio, get to the point earlier on, they maybe lack the damage output, and Hureg, that's a windmill, mate.
And when you look for the side of London to see happen here is, Hureg put down a ton of damage with the Farah, and then Prophet finished these kills off. So it's really not as much of Now, Hurek just taking out these players one by one. It's really putting down enough damage to let his tanks and Prophet finish these kills off. Shanghai will take the point first here.
Yeah, sheer weight of man advantage, I feel. Freefield got a first peek on the Lucio and then a D-suit there. You see the Spitfire still going to go with the Lucio here, try and make something happen with it, but Altering, of course, has the Valkyrie in play. Prophet's being herded back in towards the side room now, needs to give a bit of ground. He knows he's being chased down by Dia.
Altering coming through the air on his own mercy, takes out Nuss in Valkyrie, so you're starting to see this more and more from Mercy players. A little bit of the battle Mercy as they're flying through the sky at a fast pace. And Undead has to be careful because he played this position the last time at the beginning of the choke, and Gesture and Prophet just jumped on him and insta-killed him. Has to be very careful. Looks like he's going to play farther back and go for the Deadeye when Hureg and Nuss come into the fight.
Waiting for eyes to be on other people and not him. Hurek, they're going to come in with a barrage. He's already found Altering. That's a good response. Nuss, both Mercies are down. No resurrects in this fight. It's like a bit of a look to the new patch coming forward. But Undead isn't able to finish the target. His quarry was flashed, but managed to get out of jail free. And Freefield, speaking of which, is down. Undead was just sort of buffeted around the room until he finally had to collapse. 60% now. Pulse Bomb dropped in. That's not a bad one. Dia recalls through it here, but as a promo aid to Winston for Roshan, and in play, there's a little bit of a lack of numbers here for the Shanghai Dragons. Dia, hard to tell who he's looking for, but Prophet's very low. He's trying to break through. The defense matrix, just one shot was enough to get him. Now forced to recall out. Back to full health, but Prophet's leaping upon him, and there's not much he can do about that.
It'll get Rez back up, though, as Nuss is in Valkyrie. Gesture just searching for Altering. Altering barely staying alive. He eventually will fall as he goes right into Prophet as Undead. Yep, can't do anything there. It's McCree. The downside about playing McCree, right? There's no escapability as soon as Gesture jumps right on top of him in that choke. Nowhere he can go. Shanghai did a great job though, Mitch. Built up 89% on the point. Undead will go Widowmaker here, so maybe just trying to get a pick all the way back in his spawn. Yep, switches right back. So you're going for that pick maybe from spawn to take out the far up in the sky, and then switch back to McCree.
He must have been happy enough giving up what ultimate percentage he actually had there, because obviously you don't get it back if you switch. The Deadeye actually managed to claim a Mercy in a prior fight. Prophet waiting for Dia there as well, hoping to use his support as a bait here. He knows that Bedosian's going to get a heck of a lot of attention, and that Prophet might be looking for his opportunity to spring forth in his own kind of way. Oh, what is that? Pulse from out towards the left. It doesn't find its target, though. Looking stylish, nonetheless.
It's a very difficult point to flip back, though. You can stall this out for such a long time as Bedosian, who takes out Dia. They jump right onto the back line. They take out Freefield. Altering, he uses Valkyrie. He's on the other side of the map, though. Needs to get back. He'll bring Dia into the fight. Hurek, he'll use his rocket barrage. He takes himself out of the equation.
This could potentially turn. Altering gets double res, and Nuss is down right now. So the Dragons need to press their advantage as much as they can. Find Prophet, for example, who's just sitting behind the shields, getting 3 damage into tanks. He knows he wants a pulse bomb coming up into the next fight. Fury getting desuited, that means that defensive web is going to be limited somewhat for Prophet. There's less to hide behind, but now it might be time for him to come forward and face the music anyway. Drops the bomb, Roshan cops it, but he jumps out immediately. The dome protected him from the follow-up damage. And that Prophet's still at large.
And you don't even need it here, but London would have been able to extend this fight anyway. You do have Nuss with Valkyrie, and Bedosian is going to have Sound Barrier, so you would have had those support ults if you needed it. Nuss comes off of respawn. Fury actually gets DMAC going all the way back. To kind of caddy him back towards that point. The aggression paying off here for London. Shanghai Undead will go over to Widowmaker yet again, try and go for a pick. Doesn't see it. He's got to go. I mean, he's going to play Widowmaker here out.
See, Hurek's just sitting on the ground. He knows they're going to try and pick him up. He's just a little bit too smart. You've got to get up early in the morning if you want to deal with him. Dia takes a lot of damage. Gesture just lands on 2 somehow. Finds Dia after just splattering, Altering. Fantastic engagement. You really can't ask for too much more than that. There's no resurrectability. Shanghai are going to get completely decimated in this fight. It was over pretty much as soon as it had begun for them, unfortunately. For their fans, and the self-destruct does very little. That's going to be in another map. Another 10 minutes, and here we are. Looking down the barrel, 3-0 in favor of the Spitfire.
And it's so hard on Well to play Widowmaker, especially there at the end for Undead, right? I mean, pretty much have one shot at it. Switch to Widow and then look for the pick and don't get the pick, and then not switch to, you know, maybe like a 76, get to the point faster, right? To stay on Widowmaker, you can't really help your team take some of these players out in the back line.
Much of the color draining from the faces of the Dragons now, I think, is the enormity of the task. Had occurred to them, I feel like. Somewhere in this series, they realized that the London Spitfire were a different beast altogether. Good moments from Undead there, so Widowmaker play. It didn't show up on well, though, and that's what hurt the Dragons. Time for one more map to see what they can come up with.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Omened by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, this is Zoe. Now, earlier this week, London Spitfire's coach spoke to OverwatchLeague.com, and in this interview he revealed that against their match against the Seoul Dynasty, or during their match against the Seoul Dynasty, he actually handed in their substitution sheets before the map even started. So that speaks for a lot of confidence. He came in there with a real strict game plan. They utilized 11 out of 12 players from their roster, and they subbed in and out at least one player per map. So that's pretty strict right there. During the halftime, I actually got to talk to Bishop about that, and he said, now that we're in this league for 4 weeks already, we have identified the weaknesses and the strength of our players, and that means we can now look into specializing them for specific maps and for specific strategies. And with a 12-man roster, that means that you can have 2 teams prepping when you have like back-to-back game days, and that makes it a lot easier in terms of preparation. Now, if you want to read the full interview with Bishop, head over to OverwatchLeague.com. But for now, we're heading into map number 4 for all the action. Give it up to our casters, Uber and X.
Thank you very much. Interesting, actually, considering like in the preseason, wasn't it Bishop who made incorrect substitutions in that map early on that caused him to have a weird lineup, and now he just sort of walks in and just throws the subs out like, oh yeah, we'll just play these guys today. Confidence is pretty clear to see.
And they have the players to be that confident. 5 King will come in for altering. Then on the side of the London Spitfire, you have Fuyal come back in, and Birdring will come in for Hureg as well. But Bishop and the coaching staff of the London Spitfire really just nailing down. You know, a lot of teams have struggled with substitutions and working new players into these rosters. London has taken a really great approach. You know, with so much talent, right, you can kind of jump the gun and just put all these players together, start mixing it around. Like, they have definitely taken a calculated approach with this.
I feel like these guys are playing musical chairs with glitch hop, right? Like, the music's always stopping, they're just putting someone else in, someone else in, someone else in. But they can do that. They can, and it works out. Again, this match is a good opportunity for them to test some of the concepts they've been developing, some of these permutations of rosters, and see how they actually perform on the stage. Again, the Shanghai Dragons have shown to be a much improved squad. The London Spitfire seem to have just hit a new level very recently, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah, and the 11 out of 12 players for London, you're like, oh, well, who's the 12th player? It's Fisher, who has not played for the London Spitfire just yet. Gesture has been such a great main tank. You know, Fisher's stats are actually incredible during the preseason as well. Just have not seen much of him yet. I'm sure, you know, they'll work him into the lineup just like they worked the rest of these guys in.
I mean, yeah, we've seen plenty of him as well. He's been incredibly impressive in those instances. Yeah. His statistics, I mean, we get a chance to use some of our statistics. So obviously, we'd love to be able to show you guys more. And we're working on it. But, you know, empirically speaking, he's been one of the top players in the league in his role. But now we're heading over to Junkertown for the final map of this series here. And the Dragons obviously have forfeited any opportunity to take it to a 5th map after a good start on Ilios. Just a poor finish.
So this is what's really cool about seeing these maps constantly throughout the season, is that, you know, the main strat coming in, you know, at the beginning of stage 1 on Junkertown was the pirate ship. You see the Bastion on the side of the Shanghai Dragons. But as times have gone on, you know, and the stage has gone on, teams have really figured out how to get this Bastion off of the payload and whatnot. Does Shanghai go with this pirate ship, or do they try something new, what a lot of teams are doing? You see the London Spitfire on defense, they'll run Gesture on the Orisa, Prophet will play Junkrat, and Huyal will play Roadhog, so you have a lot to break through the shields here.
5 King on the Hanzo here. He's got a tattoo of Lucio on his leg, but he's going to go switch over to the Mercy. So perhaps it was just for that initial scatter arrow, maybe get an early pick.
But it's the Sonic arrow that you want in that left building to see if the flank is coming through, to potentially like a tracer or something.
Much like the Route 66 approach that they'd stick in the train car. Yeah, I mean, we've seen teams play the Hanzo through the entirety of this first stage, like Seagull, for example. So hard to say what the purpose was initially, but now we know. Like on that Mercy. Oh, that was dead. Oh, hello. All right, bit of Spider-Man action. I'm down with that. Dead now. He's going to fire on towards Ruyal, who's in trouble connecting with him. And Dia there helped him out. It's a tag team combo to take down the big boy. And now Undead just going to play around that corner. Birdring swoops on in. Okay, now we're just getting silly. A little bit of class shown, but Dia there as well just to punish. We'll find that kill. Ruyal brought back to life. A lot of value in bringing up a Roadhog, about 800 HP's worth. Oh, nuts! That's not what you want. Shisha connects the hook, but he's punished. Ruyal was there, recently brought back to life, doing his job immediately. Pulse Bomb. Oh, just actually just walked onto the Pulse Bomb. It didn't even stick. He's taken a heck of a lot of damage as a result. The Dragons are being ground to a screeching halt, though.
Us does have his Valkyrie, but you don't need to use it here. You may be able to just waiting, yeah, for around the corner. He'll res Gesture back up. So, yeah, both tanks back up here. No need to use that Valkyrie just yet. Valkyrie not built up on the side of Shanghai Dragons. Free Fuel will switch off of Bastion to Zenyatta, so you're going to be way staggered in terms of, you know, ultimate percentage on that Zenyatta compared to Bedosin, who's pretty much already at his Transcendence.
A lot of chains being thrown around here. Both Roadhogs are just trying to get each other an easy pick off. Again, never melee if you hook another Roadhog and don't hook first. Nice movement for that one. So Prophet now as well isn't using the shield. He's just trying to work on this right-hand side and make it very, very hard for a Widow to flank around or a Trace to get close. Again, just trying to go for a concussive bind, but Huyal's down early in the fight. But Nas is able to bring him back up. The Widows are dueling in the background. The Roadhogs are dueling in the middle. 3-4 getting cut down. Hook coming in. Ruyal needs to take a breather very quickly, but the whole Hawk's going to force them away very fast. Gesture was brought back to life. Now he's taken down yet again. You can see Birdring off in the distance there. Bedosin helping him out with Undead. He was getting a little bit big for his boots, and now 3 players benefiting from the Transcendence. Ruyal needs to go big here. He's discorded, but he's still found a pick on Free Field. Now that orb's not going to be an issue anymore. Roshan fortifies himself up. Comes a lot of shots from the scrap gun, but is still around to tell the tale. But no, he's low. Ruyal's found him, and somehow the Spitfire with 3 players on the point, hold the Dragons again.
Well, they're able to do it because Roadhog has such a large HP pool. They never focus him down. He's getting pocketed by Nuss the entire time. Has Bedos in there to help him as well. He can also take a breather. He's just able to live for so long that Undead and Dia are just kind of like dancing around trying to get Birdring in the back while Huyal just is on the point, just destroying everybody as Roadhog.
Everyone getting motion sickness from watching Birdring. This guy is insanely twitchy. And oh, that's not going to be ideal. Yeah, getting knocked out by concussive mine makes it very, very hard to have any sort of air control. Huyal now found the deepest. Shusha doesn't want to waste his defense matrix on a 1v1 scenario, so he needs to back away. He gets desuited anyway. Huyal's looking for Undead, but that's a Riptire, if I'm not mistaken, heading straight towards him. Yep, no getting away from that one.
They ended up getting both supports to Shanghai early in the fight, but the supercharger from Gesture, that tire from Prophet, may put things away because now Nuss will come back into this next fight. He's going to get Valkyrie already at 83%. Free feel will have Transcendent. That's all you're going to have to battle this.
Birdring now is aware of the presence of the monkey. He knows that Roshan is just on the other side of the balcony and wants to back away. Dia needs to make a big play here. You can see he's going deep. He knows he might need to be the difference maker in this next fight. We're going to be into overtime in just a moment, but Undead's found Birdring. It's a good opening, but it's traded out with Free Feel getting picked off by the concussive by Undead. Now getting another two. This is big, but Bedosan and Prophet are back in the mix. We are by some space. Overtime, he actually pulls Shusha off into the payload, but where are the Shanghai Dragons? Nowhere to be seen here. Getting cut down in that fight. That's nasty, but Prophet was also there to finish the job. Undead gets 3 kills in that fight. It's still not enough.
The turn of that fight for me is that it's a 1v1 that goes down all the way in the back in the open between Dia and Bedosan. And Bedosan is able to win it. You know, Zenyatta versus Tracer. He's able to take out Dia. Then there's no flanking opportunities that come in for the Shanghai Dragons. The rest of the London Spitfire can focus on the players attacking through the front. They also get the benefits of the Discord and Harmony from Bedosan.
I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you, ladies and gentlemen, and if you're clever enough, you'll know it for yourself, but the Dragons are getting wrecked. Prophet here, see just how aggressive he knows he can be. And the rest of the London Spitfire eviscerating the Dragons.
And look, the Dragons have looked quite decent over their last few matches. They've been competitive with Seoul, New York, some of the teams that we've seen them play over the last few weeks. They take Philly to a game 5, and Philly has been a very good...
They had Seoul, Philly, New York, all one game after another, all very competitive and exciting Overwatch.
So I think this just tells you more of where London is at as a team right now. I think obviously there's still something to be said for Shanghai not really playing great today. It didn't show up, play their game. But I think there's also, just the level that London is on after their dominant win over Seoul, to just take that confidence and momentum and just ride it on through.
And now, to end the series with a 4-0 sweep, the Spitfire only need to get to that box. And it's so hard for the Dragons to defend this. They pretty much have to hold the choke where they're standing right now, and they need to hold that for a good 4 minutes.
They have like one shot at this, really. I mean, they lose one fight, Shanghai, that's going to be the end of this map. Let's see what London decides to do. Birdring just kind of playing with us, going between Hanzo and Mei. Looks like, at least here at the beginning, you'll see him play Mei. Oh no, I'm sorry, that Hanzo is, he's gonna just fire the Sonic Arrow out to the left.
They see the hole.
Yeah, they see Roadhog. They're gonna try.
Oh no, he doesn't know they can see him. They did the same thing to the Spitfire. Why not expect London to do it as well? It's traded though. Huyal went down to Dia. Both Junkrats have found the big bodies of the Roadhogs early.
Yeah, but Huyal's gonna come right off the spawn, just walk right out, get back onto the payload. This looks like Birdring maybe going back for Switch. Maybe we see him play Widowmaker here.
I feel like that'll be the play.
Yeah, that'll be the play.
Prophet now, leading the charge. He expects there to be someone close, always caught Shusha off on his respawn. Won't be able to kill him, but can definitely unsettle him, or at least relocate him, or reaccommodate if that would be the case.
And Shanghai's got to be careful, because they're going to take this fight in the open at the end of this game. As you see the payload getting very close to the end, it's going to give a lot of angles for Birdring to get shots off.
I'm telling you, they want to fight in the choke here. They're at least using the buildings. Yeah. It makes them quite susceptible to Prophet's Junkrat if they want to play inside these buildings, but so far the kills have been good. Gesture's brought back up, so there's definitely a sense that London is still going to have a big crack at this, but that's big! And Team Rocket goes blasting off again. Birdring just gets sucked on in. And Dia finishes the job. It's better almost than the ball and chain combo there. You hold them into a bunch of Junkrat damage.
Yeah. London, though, they will have the advantage. Bedosan will take out free feel, so see the res being used by 5King. It'll be Undead using his Infra Sight.
Riptide here.
They'll be using a Riptire as well. And London can just wait this out, Mitch. And they're going to have their Valkyrie and they're going to have Transcendence here. I mean, it's a lot of ultimates being used here by Shanghai early. Dia will take out Gesture, but now for the Spitfire, no, the Prophet's going to come back with a Rip. Oh, he gets 5King as well. This may be a turn.
He's low, but again, the spawn advantage is definitely there for the Spitfire. I love these.
Well, both supports are down for Shanghai. You're going to have Valkyrie and Transcendence here for London, plus a Riptire. Maybe you can get back to the payload rather quickly. That actually forces Undead to grapple all the way back up to get the Mercy back in the fight.
Undead returns. William shield pressure is the name of the game. That's a lot of free damage there as well. Micro Rockets also just thrown in the mix. Profit down though, on his Riptide, should I say. So Dia getting rid of that is quite big. Lacking damage, but still Roshan's down. It's going to have to be a resurrection. All eyes are going to be on the Mercy right now, but instead it's the Transcendence. It's going to be committed to this fight by free feel. Gesture's down, but brought back up. Nuss is going to make sure they keep their Orisa in play. Same can be said of 5King, but he gets caught out on his own there. The Junkrat has fallen. Wheel has to give up his mech in response, but he can just self-destruct and get it back when he needs it. Roshan has fallen. Shisha now going for the whole hog, but everyone's pretty comfortable here, just working around the corner. The Prophet finds him there with the concussive mine. Roshan down. 5King and free feel look on with dismay as they are dismantled.
London, they didn't even need the Transcendence. They just pop it there at the end. Celebration. As soon as Valkyrie comes down from 5King, 5King did a good job just staying alive. The pressure's coming in. He's able to stay alive long enough to build Valkyrie. Gesture drops that supercharger, and you're just able to mow down so many players. 5King just couldn't bring them all back to life as Mercy, right? You only get the double res, but once those players get rezzed up, they just get mowed right down.
Again, you know, having to resurrect players is still a loss of tempo for your team, you know, especially because you've got guys that, you know, one player that needs to be committed to rezzing someone if you're in Valkyrie, it's fine. But the numbers advantage quickly spirals out of control in Overwatch, and as soon as the first pick happens, quite often the second, third, and fourth, and so forth, tend to follow.
It was a great performance yet again by the London Spitfire, though. I know Shanghai did not look as good as they've looked in their previous matches, but London has seemed to really figured out how to work all these players into their lineup. It's got to be scary for everybody else watching.
They're setting themselves up for an incredible blockbuster of a match next Saturday. The London Spitfire versus the New York XL. That is going to be a split-defining game. But for now, it is London that stand victorious here over the Dragons. Getting hype, of course, about next week. This is going to be good Overwatch. But Undead and Dia still performing, still shining as DPS players. You can see them happy to challenge the likes of Birdring and Prophet in this head-to-head stuff. But, you know, London are more than the sum of their parts. Brilliant game. We'll see you guys for the last of the day.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
London came into today swinging, and they just shut down the Shanghai Dragons 4-0. Welcome back to the post-game coverage. It's Puckett alongside Sideshow and Reinforce once again. We're going to get right into the action here. At the half, we knew this was looking bad for Shanghai. Unfortunately, they have the away team today. That means they have to attack first every single time. So you can't warm up on your strength, which is defense against the London Spitfire. And London really just picked them apart in games 1, 2, and 4. But game 3 started off really strong for the Shanghai Dragons. Free feel on the support, the Zenyatta getting some early picks, and then we saw the sniper come into play for Undead as he outmatched Hureg.
Yeah, especially on that Widowmaker from Undead, because Hureg necessarily isn't known for his Widowmaker play.
Yeah.
He usually played the soldier for the old GC Busan squad, and we've seen him on the projectile heroes quite a bit. So Undead in many ways had the upper hand this Ilios round, and they got to 99% of course, and it looked very close for some time.
And I think one of the issues we saw for Hureg was also stellar play from Shishu at times. There were multiple times where he would just jump up, get in that sniper's face, creating space for players like Dia and Undead. But as this map played on, you saw London start to heat up. They were able to steal back the first heat, and when it came to the well, for me, this was kind of the profit show despite another strong 81% start for the Shanghai Dragons. Sideshow, both times, Shanghai gets up to an early lead, but it's London closing out the rounds. What was the difference between the two teams?
I think when you take control of a control map, then it comes down to how are you playing the ultimates, how are you taking the fights, do you have the fundamentals to be able to actually stay in control of the territory that you've already gained. Whereas at the beginnings, the reason that we saw them take control right at the beginning is because they were able to get picks. They had big star performances from a couple of players, Free Field picks off a few, Undead is dominating the Widow battle, so he's able to get into it. But as soon as the board is then leveled again, it almost seemed inevitable that London were going to get back into it because their overall fundamental play and how they use the ultimates just seems to be so excellent at the moment.
Yes, and also Hureg on that Pharah. I think mainly the reason we saw Hureg playing on the Ilios is of course because of his Pharah gameplay. On Lighthouse, on Well, Pharah is such a good hero. So in many ways they sort of sacrificed Ruins, removing Birding of course, for the sake of Hureg's Pharah. So I think that when you have control of the control point and Hureg is just firing away the rockets, I think it's so hard to get back into position.
This is Bishop being like, all right, let's test out your hit scan here, Hureg. Go ahead, play your Widow. We'll keep you far if it goes to that stage 3 on the Lighthouse. All right, so game 3 is in the books. The match is officially over, and we have London now, the first team to get to 7 match wins. They claim first place for the moment, but we do have to play out all 4 maps because if we have a tie, the map count always matters. And for London, they are chasing New York Excel today. They get the 4-0. They closed it out with a clean game on Junkertown. Undead got it going a little bit early for Shanghai, but really it was the defense just waiting for Shanghai to push up, and it seemed like the trap was always ready to snap on them.
It really was, and I think you see why Gesture is so good here as well, and the way that they just have this synergy between their core, because you've got to look at the London Spitfire roster that they've got in here, and it's got Badosin and Nuz, and then it's got Wuchel, who was playing on Roadhog, which isn't a hero he's normally associated with. That would normally be Fury that would come in for that. So I think, again, this is London experimenting a little bit with other compositions and seeing how they work together, but you got to say it was almost flawless in terms of the execution in like how they were taking the team fights, even if they weren't hitting the crazy peaks that perhaps other people on their roster would be.
Yes, and especially that off-tank role, I think it's really interesting we're seeing so much of Huyal on that role, because we hyped up Fury so much on the off-tank. He was so good on D.Va. Many of our analysts were like, oh, Fury, he's the best D.Va perhaps in the league thus far. And now we saw them swap in, of course, the Kongdu core with the Nas in the backline, of course. But we still saw Huyal on the off-tank. And so you're wondering, oh, where is Fury? Are they just trying things out here on Junkertown, of course? Because in many ways now they're fit with 2 incredible off-tanks for this London Spitfire team.
This squad is so stacked, it's scary. Sideshow, let's real quick talk about something that maybe some of the people watching at home can implement into their game. If you're like the Shanghai Dragons and you're going up against a Hog Orisa combo, a sniper in the back somewhere, how do you get around that first curve if you get stopped on your initial push?
So it is pretty difficult. They started out with the Bastion got stopped. But then, for me, they're running the Widowmaker Tracer composition a little too much. What is the Tracer going to do there? Yes, you can farm at the Pulse Bombs, maybe you get a pick onto somebody in the back lines, perhaps you're able to skirt all the way around, but I think the composition that a lot of the teams are running that we saw yesterday from Seoul and Houston, where you have a solo heal Mercy, again, we are playing on a different patch though. But when you have the dual sniper threat coming out from the Widowmaker and the Hanzo, so you can get these scatter arrows and take down the tanks early on, I think that could have worked for them.
Yes, especially that double sniper composition. I mean, I love that, especially in matchmaking, because then I can justify playing Hanzo in rank
right,
and ruin my game. So to all matchmakers out there, you know, you can play some Hanzo on first point Junkertown, and I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Just switch at point B and definitely before point C. All right, that is going to do it for our first match of the day. But before we go, we have to crown our player of the match. Your player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. Who is it? The Prophet is back.
It is
making everybody money today.
I mean, he is so good at this tracer. He was so good throughout. Actually, last week we didn't see that much of Prophet, but this week he was back in action, and I mean, he just keeps on surprising us. So, Sideshow, really, I'm gonna put you on the spot right now. Where is Prophet in terms of other DPS players in the league?
Okay. So in November, when this team was the best in the world, Prophet, for me, hands down, was the best player in the world. He has the individual mechanical skill to be able to outclass, I think, everybody else in this league. Apart from perhaps Fleder when he's having a good day. But Fleder hasn't been performing at the same heights previously, and the way that Prophet is playing around this team, or rather the way that his team are playing around him, and being able to put him in such great positions, if they play with more of the GC Busan core, I think Prophet is going to be utterly nuts. Because look at this. As soon as they let him get a bit scrappy, the guy is going ham. Those are some crazy statistics.
And he wasn't just playing Tracer. Overall, he had a total of 41 final blows. That is 32% of the work done by the London Spitfire. Fantastic stuff from our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. Before the break, we want to catch you up on now the standings. We have them updated, and it's London skyrocketing to the top. They have a 3-map lead over the New York XL, so that makes our next match pretty interesting, as New York is looking for 4-0 if they want to steal back the #1 spot. Seoul Dynasty and Valiant still in the running. Can't count out the Fusion as well. Plenty more games to go. And when we come back from the break, it's the Dallas Fuel looking to pull off our major upset of the day. Can they take down New York? We'll find out after this.
Week is brought to you by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. And by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network.